Hey, welcome back to the Confidad Podcast. Your host, Dan Tinquist here. So glad that you chose to join us again today. We'll begin with our fatherhood mindset. Say it out loud with me. I am the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new, and so is tomorrow. I am wholly loved, so I will love wholly. Today in our equipping section, I want to unpack the difference between being an emotional sanctuary for your kids and being a place where you would maybe perpetuate emotional trauma. Let me ask you this. Have you ever done deep work with yourself? Been to therapy, coaching, maybe even premarital counseling, group work? Have you ever done the thing that leads you into the depths of who you are? What you're carrying in your heart, mind, soul? Or have you just kind of worked through life by default? Just grown up, done the thing, you've survived, you've made it this far, probably don't need any help. What's your perspective? And then ask yourself this. Do my kids see me as a safe house or a danger zone? Do they see me as someone who's going to be patient with them, let them unpack what's going on in their life, or have emotional meltdowns and be okay with it? Or do they walk on eggshells around you because they're worried that you're going to explode if they explode? There's a very distinct biological difference between you as a father, who's probably older than 25, but at least in your 20s, if you're listening to this, likely, and a child who is, say, 3, 5, 7, 12, 15. Your prefrontal cortex has been fully developed. Theirs has not. And so when our kids have volatile reactions to emotions and they become emotionally dysregulated on the regular, and we meet them with the same energy coming out of the same place in the brain that they are reacting out of, it communicates something very, very significant to them. You're not safe. When you respond with screaming or yelling or impatience or shutting them down and saying, not in my house, no, this doesn't happen here, and you get very overbearing, you might be able to justify that as boundaries, as discipline, as the right way to raise kids. But is it kind? Is it loving? Is it coming from a place of wanting to understand whatever behavior your kid is displaying in the current moment? Is it wanting to understand that? Or is it wanting to control it? Or mitigate it? Or manage it? Or squash it? Asking that question can help you come to a place of saying, have I done my work? Are there things about me that have not been transformed? And so therefore, I'm just transferring them into my kids. I've heard that Father Richard Rohr said that. He said, what does not get transformed in us, we will transfer to our children. It's also been credited to a few other people, but who said it originally doesn't matter as much as the truth in it. So my question for you today, have you been transformed in such a way that you are now a safe house for your kids, an emotional sanctuary for your kids? Or are you a danger zone? Are you a place where they might experience emotional trauma because the way that you react to their emotional dysregulation, screaming, tantrums, craziness, whatever, instead of respond out of love, out of care, out of patience? If this is resonating with you, you can stop the podcast and continue to try your best and just do your best. Good luck. Or you can choose to do your work. Another way to ask this question is, do you have enough strength to absorb your kids' negative energy, or are you all out of gas and just running on fumes? And so when their negative energy comes to you and that you encounter it, you're not absorbing it, you're actually just reflecting it back very strongly. As a grown man, can be really scary and intimidating to many kids because grown men are scary when they get angry, emotionally dysregulated, impatient, and frustrated. Now, most men don't even want to admit that that is part of their reality. And yet it's probably the thing that scares you most about yourself, if you're honest. Have you ever taken enough time to think about what is my emotional dysregulation, my volatility communicating to my kids? There's a reason that moms feel like the safe place for most kids, because dads don't always do their work, and they aren't by default usually the ones who are patient, kind, and loving in the moments where there's a lot of volatility and emotional dysregulation going on. Now, we could just say that's the way the world is and move on. Or we could man up. We could do our work. We could dive deep into our heart, into what we've been through, and understand what are the lies I'm believing about myself that I've used to survive up to this point. Just cut those lies off and walk into truth, walking forward and saying, no, I choose to be a dad that is an emotional sanctuary for my kids. I choose to be a dad who is patient, loving, kind, and caring when my kids are all over the map. You can do this. Like, you have the strength inside of you. It just is a matter of choice. Do you want to do your work? Or do you want to let the status quo just be what it is? The bridge between being the emotional sanctuary and the status quo of whatever family culture you have right now, which might just be by default if you're not doing any intentional deep work. The thing that bridges that gap is your deep work. It's community of other men. It is people who hold you accountable. It's people that walk you through failure and move you forward through the reality that you're not going to ever get this perfect, but can you get to 80%? Can you become an emotional sanctuary to your kids most of the time and then apologize when you get it wrong? That teaches kids something that you can never teach them if you never do work and you're always just exploding. I'll say this. One of my clients told me a few weeks back, 95% of the time, I don't need what you have to give me, Dan. I don't. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm a good dad. 95% of the time, don't need you. But the 5% that I do, that's the difference between me being an emotional sanctuary and perpetuating emotional trauma in my kids. So what's that 5% worth to you? Is that 5% worth your kids paying the price? Or are you willing to pay the price so that you can most of the time be that emotional sanctuary? When that 5% in your life bubbles up and the stress is there and everything's getting the better of you, but you've done your work, you have the tools and you have the confidence to say, no, I'm not going to let that get control of my life. I'm going to be in control. I'm going to be a man. I'm going to emotionally regulate, and I'm going to be there for my kids. Be consistent, be predictable, be the dad that my kids deserve. If that matters to you, if that's something that you care deeply about, is that something that you don't want to put your kids, you would never make your kids pay the price for your own work, would you? Hope not. I hope that you choose to pay the price so that your kids know that you are the safest place to dream, to fail, to learn, and to grow. Because when you are, they run to you when they get in trouble, not from you. So may you be empowered today. May this be a fork in the road to say, I'm going to choose deep work. I'm going to choose to go down the road of understanding who I am, understanding the things that I'm carrying that I don't need to transfer to my kids, but I can allow to be transformed within me. So what does transformation look like for you today? I would love to walk you through that. Book a call with me. We could talk about it for free. Let's chat. I hope you feel empowered today to take action on your parenting and become the dad you already wish you were. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.